Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to show you how I go through using the Spectralis to send drums into the analog filter and really change the tone of it. So let's first just get us kind of oriented as to where we're at. I need to orient myself since I've kind of done so much. And I'm going to set everything back basically to nothing so that we're going to hear the drums as they sound. I'm going to turn the volume down just so I can start getting the levels here. And I'm going to hit play. You won't hear anything, I don't think. Oh, you did. Well, I'm going to make it so you don't hear that actually. And I'm going to mute my Prophet 10 so that when I play, you don't hear anything. And I will turn the volume up. All right, so this is just a basic drum beat that I've put together. Hopefully you can figure out how to do that yourself. What I'm going to do now is take that and bring it, actually going to send it to the analog filters. Now what I need to do, I need to actually set those up. So you have to go to select analog filter or analog synth part, EG release. That gets you to your bypass settings. I'm actually going to open up both the multimode and the low pass filter. I'm going to close the fixed filter bank for now. So those have to be open, and you might as well, while you're here, open up the cutoff and close the resonance on both of those. And so for now, we'll just play it. I'm going to actually start bringing the drums out from just going to the sum outputs and start bringing them in through the filters. So you'll hear that now. Obviously not yet. So we'll start bringing the volume out. Now they're completely not going through anywhere. So actually, before I get there, you've got all your drum parts here. If you hit select and you hold shift, you can see what's playing. And actually, since you can't hear anything, now you can. You'll hear the kick. It kind of lights up at the right time, and the snare. Okay, so I'm going to turn the volume down on the drums. All the drum sounds can kind of get modulated by this drums part. I wish you could adjust cutoffs and things like that with all of them, but you can't. You can at least go through the mixing desk, go into drums, so you'll click the volume, press on the encoder above drums, and that's where I got into that volume. And now here's where it gets interesting. You can change the output so it's in the direct 1, 2, 3, 4 or analog send. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to throw it up to 127. And then we have to choose, well, where are we going to feed that next? It's going into the analog section, but it doesn't have anywhere to go. So we're going to put it into the low pass. And what I like to do is actually kind of saturate it. So we might want to turn this down under the analog send. Now I don't know if I can put that back in so you can hear the original versus this. Maybe I'll try to do that. But yeah, we're going to really start making it kind of change its tone. So right now it's just going into the low pass filter, and you'll be able to hear. I'm going to modify that to the cutoff and the resonance. So you can kind of hear what I'm doing and just kind of opening the filter. And I think this sounds good all by itself. But where it really starts to get interesting is when you start going into the next section, this fourth page, where you have the low frequency. You have I think it's either cross modulation. Yeah. Well, I'll look up what they mean and maybe post that later. I think it's I'm not sure if it's filter modulation or cross modulation. But both of these two can really change that tone. I'll just have to post what they mean because I always forget to look this stuff up before I start filming. So I'm going to push play, and then we're going to start actually having the drums modulating themselves through these two things. So already you can hear that this totally changes the tone. For me, it makes it way more, almost like it's going through something like the Ensoniq Mirage, where that completely saturates the sound, makes it a little thicker, I guess. I don't know a technical term for it. But something else we can do, you could take that volume. I'm in the mixing desk still. If I go into the drum section, and it's going through the analog send. Well, let's take it out of the low pass and into the multi-mode. Now you can't actually hear it yet because I don't think I've got any of these selected, and I do have the multi-mode going into the low pass already. Sometimes it depends on what your default settings are, but it could go out to the bus or out to the low pass. So I'm going to have it go through the low pass. So now I'm going to have a sound going into the analog section and going into the 12 dB filter. And then that goes through the low pass filter, and then that goes to the output. So once I hit this button, I think we'll start hearing something. You can really change the tone, and maybe it sounds a little funky right now, but you can change it so easily. Now I'm turning the resonance up. And then you could send it through the high pass filter. Right now it's just going through the low pass filter within the multi-mode, or the band pass. It could go through any of them, and then it's going to go out of the low pass, 24 dB. You could actually switch it, so it's going through first through the low pass and then into the 12. So in the 24, then 12. Kind of just however you want to do it. So now I'm opening up or closing the high pass filter, which is going to let more of the sound come out. And one reason I like to use that is because then you can start bumping up the resonance, and that creates this really low frequency sound. So I'll play that. And something else you can do is actually something I hadn't even thought about doing till tonight, is that you could route the different filters into the left and the right output, and then you theoretically could separate those two in your mixer so that if you wanted to add different effects to either of your filters or the sounds going through your filters, you could do that. But here it ends up sounding very strange when you have the drums going through both. So I'll play that for you. I forgot to mention, you actually then need to have the multi-mode to go through the bus. And what I could do then is, when I'm using the mixing desk, also add this frequency modulation to the multi-mode. And now you really get this very similar but different sound between the two sides. You could do that in this setting here too, for both of them. And now both of those are going through the center, so you're kind of hearing them almost phasing at this point. And if you wanted to have the multi-mode filter go through the low pass, have the low pass then go into the fixed filter bank. So I could just show you that before I finish. So obviously you won't hear anything now, and now we'll send it through the filter bank. And we have to make sure that the filter bank is open. And that's when you hit the filter bank level and then you press this filter bank level, that sends it through. Now, obviously, you might not hear anything. You'd have to twist some of these knobs or these encoders here, because that's what opens up the filter. So I'll bring it back to kind of stock so you can hear how there's nothing, and then you have to bring each one in, each frequency in by itself. So let's just open this up, and okay, it's completely open. We'll open the high pass filter, and then maybe one in the middle, and then the low pass. And then we'll start bringing in the other filter frequencies. And actually, if you wanted to, I'm going to close these up and show you how we could do something even crazier. I must be missing something. Ah, yeah. Okay. If we go into the sequence edit and actually start going to the different sequencer lines, we could start sequencing these filters. So let's just start with one in the middle. Oh, I need to get to it. So we'll go to like sequencer line 5, and I'm going to set the length to 1. And we're going to maybe hear, and I'm going to change the depth on these when they're really loud. And so now, actually, one thing I'm going to do, you can just twist the knobs and they start kind of coming in. If you just twist them, it's like an offset. You can change the rate at which some of these activate. Although I guess I don't really like that. And you could even change their panning. So if you hit the pan button, and also get them going through the delay. Well, I hope you found that interesting. I'm always just learning new things about the Spectralis, even though I've had it for, I don't know, since 2012. So that's 12 years I've had this thing. And even tonight I learned something new about it. And that's one of the things I love about it. The reason I was even thinking of sending the drums through, I even forgot to show you something. Something else where you can start using the oscillators. Hey, I might as well. I'm here. I might as well. So I'm gonna get rid of the filter bank part. We're gonna not have that going. So one thing you can do is actually have the oscillators modulating the filters. So that will make the drums sound even stranger. So let's show you that. So I'll just hit play. Actually, I won't. I'm going to go to my sequencer line for trigger group 1, and you'll have to watch my other videos on trigger groups, but you go to the routing, and right now the low pass filter is being routed through trigger group 1, and so are my is oscillator 1 and 2. So those are kind of basic things you need set up. And I'm just going to play a note here. So I guess I should have not done something. So right now it shouldn't make any difference. But if you go in to page 8 and 9 of the low pass, and actually the multi-mode has one of these as well, you can get into exponential and linear filter FM. And now you can actually start having the oscillators modulating the sound of the drums, which are going through the filters, and modulating the filters as well. So I'll show you what that sounds like. If you don't want the sound of that oscillator to be kind of audible, you have to change the length of it. Sometimes you'll still hear it. I'll just make it audible the whole time. It's not ideal, but because it's modulating the filter, it just kind of is making this long sound that is modulating it, and you hear that modulation. You're not actually hearing the oscillator itself. You're hearing it modulating something. But what I'm hearing is almost like a bit reduction. And that's only one oscillator. So let's bring in another oscillator. And if you change the waveform or wave shape of the oscillators, that'll change the sound. And then you hold shift and you can detune them. And we can do that for the multi-mode filter. And then if you want to do something even more interesting, one thing I didn't explain is that I'm actually only using one note. So this note keeps repeating. I'm going to make that up to 16 steps, and I'm going to change the resolution to 16th notes. So you won't really hear it. Change the length, make sure all of them are 1. And now we can start changing the pitch. And you could change how often these, the probabilities of each. Change the length of some of them if you want to 2, 3, like how many steps they repeat or play along. And if you still change the detune of the oscillators, it does other things. And I like to set this to random, so it doesn't just go in order. Now I'm having the filter go through the delay. Now instead of going through the low pass, it's going through the multi-mode filter, the effects. And you can hear it. It changes how it sounds. All right. Well, I think that got through most of what I wanted to show you. If you have a Spectralis, hopefully you will find that interesting. I typically don't get a lot of views on these videos because I don't think a lot of people have one of these. And it's a shame because it's such an interesting instrument in how you can route all of the sounds and how it works as a unified device. I think the only things I wish this could do is, overdub recording. I think that'd be great. I think it would be great if we could have done like paraphonic playing of the oscillators, and having a second MIDI output would be fantastic. But I usually just can work around a lot of these things. Now, the one issue with doing the drums through the analog filters like this, and I actually, as we're speaking, realized how I could bypass some of my issues. I was going to say you can't use the analog or you can't use the hybrid monosynth engine, but actually now I realize you can. Let's say that you only want the drums going through the multi-mode filter. So we can do that. We can go to volume mixer, it goes through the analog send and goes through the multi-mode, and we turn off the kind of modulation in page 4 to the low pass. Now the cutoff, the multi-mode is only going to go through, it's going to go right out to the bus. So it's not going to affect the low pass filter. And let's say that if we go into the trigger group section, we're going to say that's going to trigger group 1. Trigger group 2 is going to be the low pass filter. And we'll say oscillators 3 and 4 are going through the low pass filter. Well, as I said before, you could pan the multi-mode filter to the right and the low pass filter to the left. And if I do this right, let's see if I can hear something coming out of the left, but it's very quiet. And that's because my oscillators aren't going through the low pass filter. At least I think that's what's happening. Trigger group 2, low pass trigger group 2, and through the low pass filter. I don't want it to go through the filter bank. I'm going to turn off the filter FM. All right. So now I have to do some. Oh, I need it to be part. Oh, there we go. There. So their envelopes are set to really long. Now, obviously, you're just hearing that through the left side right now, and the drums would come out in the right, like that. So, I mean, the fact is I figured out how to do this tonight. You know, it's not like it sounds good. I'm not trying to make it sound good. I'm trying to just show that I can do it. Wow. See, so I even learned something when I was doing this, that I can actually separate drums going through a filter and then the oscillators going through a different filter to a different output. Because I don't really need to do a lot of this stuff in stereo. So So a lot of these kinds of sounds, the drums would be good to be in stereo. So that would probably be the only thing that kind of stinks. But, you know, if I'm trying to emulate like a really saturated sound like the Ensoniq Mirage, that's mono. It's not stereo anyway. And sometimes just getting those really thick drums really can just be a presence by themselves and don't need to be in stereo. So, again, this is probably the third time I've tried stopping this video, but, you know, if I can get that information out there and somebody's looking through this going, well, how does he do that? That's what this video is, and hopefully it gets people more interested in this, because I think, you know, I see a lot of people posting things, you know, it's talking about how this drum machine sounds better than that, or things like that, you know, with you know, analog drums. But these drums going through the analog filters end up sounding just so rich that I think it's really interesting. And I think the things you can do to manipulate it is really fun. And the fact that you can sequence things, you can sequence the filters, you can sequence the oscillators to modify it. Those are just things that I think are really difficult to achieve elsewhere. Maybe what you've heard is not something you'd want to achieve. I don't know. But I think it's interesting and I think it sounds good. So, yeah, let me know what you think. And I realize my camera is starting to shift, or had been shifting the whole time. Whatever. Hopefully this is of interest to anyone who's got one. I mean, it is 30 some minutes long, which is kind of a long time to do a video. I commend anyone who makes it this far. I don't even think I could listen to this far. So good luck and enjoy.